Morning in Sicily starts the only correct way, with coffee. Not a coffee, the kind that makes your eyes open and your life choices feel briefly brilliant. Step outside and Sicily is already showing off. Architecture everywhere, sun-warmed stone, dramatic balconies, doors that look like they've been there forever and judging people since the 1600s. And then the sea, always there, sparkling like it knows it's the main character. By evening, the sunset arrives and turns the whole island into a film set. Which is convenient because we apparently decided to live inside one. And just like that, we are up in the air, literally, heading toward an island that looks like it was designed by an artist with very strong opinions. Now, here's the part where sensible people do research. We did one viewing, and then we bought the house. Yes, the first we saw. If you're looking for a detailed spreadsheet of pros and cons, you're watching the wrong film. But the place had that unmistakable feeling, the kind that says, this could be home. And also a full-time adventure. And then I looked up, ceiling paintings, the kind that makes you whisper, oh wow, and immediately forget practical questions like, does the plumbing work? Or where exactly is the kitchen supposed to be? Then I looked down, floors you don't just walk on, you admire them. Tiles with patterns so beautiful they feel like they should come with museum tickets. Of course, beauty comes with projects. So we renovated in stages, little by little, until the day we could finally say, okay, it's guest ready. Which in renovation language means there is at least one functioning bathroom, and we're calling that a victory. Food here is wonderfully simple, clean, fresh, and really delicious. A few ingredients, zero drama, and somehow it tastes like someone's grandmother is personally trying to improve the outlook on life. Tomatoes that actually taste like tomatoes. Olive oil that makes you question every bottle you have ever bought before. And then gelato. Gelato isn't dessert here, it's a coping strategy. Too hot? Gelato. Long renovation day? Gelato. Celebrating absolutely nothing? Also gelato. Renovation in Sicily is not a straight line. It's more like a scenic hiking trail with surprise cliffs, confusing signs, and occasionally donkey watching your struggle. At first, we thought we were doing normal home improvements. You know, paint a wall, fix a door, maybe change a tile or two. Sicily laughed gently and said, how adorable, let me introduce you to the hidden layer. Because every time you fix one thing, two new things reveal themselves. You open a cupboard and discover it's secretly a museum exhibit. You lift a tile and find history. You touch a wall and it sheds politely, like it's doing you a favor. We've learned a lot, like how many different types of dust exist, like how you can lose a screwdriver in your own house and never see it again. Like how quick job means something very different depending on who you ask. And honestly, in our 50s, we renovate with a special kind of wisdom. We stretch before we're lifting anything, we celebrate small victories, and we have developed a deep emotional bond with coffee. Some days are pure comedy. You spend hours trying to make something perfectly level, only to discover the building has been perfectly ignoring level since the 1800s. Other days are purely mystery. You call someone to fix something and they arrive with 3 relatives, 2 opinions, and a solution you didn't even know that was an opinion. Suddenly, there's a lively discussion in Italian, hand gestures everywhere, and somehow, miraculously, progress happens. And then there are moments that make you stop and smile. A finished wall, a restored detail, a doorway that looks like it's finally breathing again. And you step back and think, we did that. And then you immediately notice that the next thing that needs to do, because renovation is basically a hobby that keeps inventing itself. But here's the truth. We love it. Not because it's easy, because it's not. We love it because it's ours. Because every stage makes the house more livable, more beautiful, more home. And because the middle of all the dust and all the chaos, Sicily keeps rewarding you. A view out of the window that looks like a painting, a neighbor dropping by with advice and maybe a lemon, a sunset that makes you forget you've been sanding for 6 hours. This renovation isn't just about fixing a house, it's about building a life, one room at a time. And somehow, even with all the challenges, we wouldn't trade it for anything. Somewhere along the way, Sicily stopped being a place where we live and become a rhythm we follow. Because life here isn't split into big adventures and boring chores. It's all mixed together, like a really good pasta sauce. One minute you're doing something completely ordinary, buying tomatoes, picking up screws, carrying a bag that's somehow both bread and building supplies, and the next minute you're part of a tradition that's been happening the same way for generations. Markets aren't just shopping, they are theater. You don't simply choose vegetables, you negotiate, you laugh, you get life advice, and you leave with more than you planned because someone looked you in the eyes and said, "Trust me." And then there are the festivals and the small rituals that appear like magic. A street suddenly filled with music, a procession turning a normal afternoon into something sacred. A table that becomes a celebration with no warning and no clear end time. We've learned that everyday life here has a very generous definition. Even a quick errand can take you an hour. Partly because people actually talk to each other, and partly because Sicily is always offering distractions in the form of beauty, food, or both. Laundry happens, renovation happens, emails happens, but so do espresso breaks that turn into conversations. And sunsets that demand your full attention like, "Excuse me, are you really going to keep walking and ignore this?" And slowly, without us noticing, the traditions start to feel less like something we're watching and more like something we're sharing. We're still outsiders, of course. We still pronounce things with confidence and get corrected with kindness. But we're learning the most important skill. Show up, say yes, bring something to the table, sometimes literally. Because Sicily isn't a checklist, it's a way of doing life. With the senses turned on, with time slightly softened, and with room for the simple things to become memorable. Even when you're just doing the groceries, especially when you're just doing the groceries. Somewhere between the renovation dust and the olive harvest, we realized something. Sicily has a talent for turning ordinary days into memories. Because enjoyment here isn't a luxury. It's stitched into the routine. It's in the way people stop and talk, properly talk, like no one's life depends on rushing. It's in the way a simple walk can become a lesson in history, architecture, and restraint, mostly restraint around bakeries. And honestly, Sicily spoils you. Not in a flashy way, in a quietly perfect way. Like when you buy a handful of fruit and it tastes like it was picked 5 minutes ago by someone who cares. Or when you take a long way home and accidentally end up in a view that belongs to a postcard. We've learned to follow the senses. If something smells amazing, it probably is. If you hear music, go toward it. If someone says, "Come, come," you go. It may be coffee, it may be lunch, it may be someone's cousin's birthday, but it will not be boring. And the island keeps teaching us the art of small happiness. A chair in the shade, a breeze through an open window, a plate that doesn't need anything fancy because the ingredients are already doing the work. Sometimes it's the people. A neighbor who waves like you've always belonged, a shopkeeper who remembers what you like, someone who corrects your Italian with a smile and says, "You're wrong, but you're trying, so you're family now." Sometimes it's just the atmosphere, that mixture of salt air, some warmed stone, jasmine, espresso, and whatever is cooking nearby, which is always, always tempting. And yes, they're still renovating. There's always a little project, always a plan. But the funny thing is, we're not in a hurry to finish anymore. Because Sicily doesn't reward speed. It rewards presence. We didn't come here to collect perfect moments. We came to live a real life, with paint on our hands, olive leaves in our hair. A calendar that's flexible enough to say, "Actually, let's go to the sea." And that's how we want to end this story, the same way it began, back by the water. The sea doing what it does best, sparkling, showing off, pretending it's not magic. The sun lowering slowly, like it's taking its time on purpose. Everything warm, gold, and unreal in that very Sicilian way. And then coffee, because Sicily always brings you back to the essentials. A small cup, a deep breath, and that feeling of, yes, this is the life. We came here looking for a new chapter. What we found was an island that fills all our 5 senses, and somehow makes you want to start the day all over again. So, one more coffee?